Hey guys, what's up and welcome to my channel. I'm getting some Redmi fatigue as I've reviewed 3 Redmi devices in the past few months. And here's the 4th one, the Redmi 4X. This phone is like a mix of the Redmi 4 Prime and the Redmi 4A, metal body, 720p screen, and a Snapdragon 435 processor. The design of Redmi devices has matured very well and the Redmi 4X has been refined, so let's dive right in. The body of the Redmi is metal, almost the same metal that is used in the Redmi 4 Prime. It feels good in the hand and the metal gives you a pretty good grip. There are plastic strips on the top and the bottom for better reception. Overall, the phone looks nice and it's also pretty thin as well, at least compared to the other big battery phones I've tested. Flip the phone around to the front and when you turn on the screen you see a black border around the screen, which is pretty unsightly, but it's harder to see if you get the black version of this phone. And then you also have 3 capacitive buttons below the screen as well. And here we have a minor downside, is still using micro USB ports, not USB-C, a small issue at least at this price point. The 720p IPS screen is adequate for the job, text and pictures don't look ugly on the screen, and color is reproduced decently as well. MIUI allows you to adjust the color and saturation of the display, and it makes a slight difference what settings you choose. There is no protective glass on the screen, but the touch sensitivity here is great. Max brightness tops out at around 400 nits, adequate but not good. The sound here is very loud, no complaints about that, but the audio quality could be better. I did not hear a lot of bass, and mids and highs are slightly fuzzy. Have a listen for yourself.
HQ says take out that machine gun.
So the battery life here also surprised me, almost as much as the Redmi 4 Prime's battery surprised me. To be honest, I was expecting Redmi Note 3 Pro levels of battery life, but you get significantly more than that. Not as much as the Redmi 4 Prime, mind you, but definitely more than the Note 3 Pro. I was able to get around 8 hours of intensive screen on time with 20% left, which means an easy 10 hours of screen on time if you used it straight through the day. And this was not pansy stuff like texting, but YouTube, a lot of photos, and some gaming as well. Absolutely incredible. This phone will not die on anyone in one day, even those unusual days where you have to stay out later than usual without no charger, no sir. There is MIUI 8 on the Redmi 4X and it runs pretty well. I don't see any issues when using it. Swiping between screens is fast and fluid. Launching and closing apps is quick, but slower than mid-range MediaTek chips, but definitely still more than good enough for normal use. Multitasking with just 2 gigs of RAM is going to be tough. I have the 3 gig version, which in my opinion is the minimum because MIUI takes up so much RAM. And speaking of MIUI, it also takes up quite a bit of storage as well, so the 3 gig RAM 32 gig model is definitely recommended. Moving on to gaming, I did see some stutter and slowdowns when playing the most intense games like Asphalt or Modern Combat, but it's still very playable even with the occasional slowdown. Moving on to the fingerprint sensor, it's very accurate and moderately fast, but there are a ton of phones that beat this in terms of speed. I was able to get both 3G and LTE speeds in Canada. Speeds are below average but fast enough. Wi-Fi speeds are good though, functional but not impressive. This phone connects to all my Bluetooth devices and GPS accuracy is great as well. The camera is similar to what you find on the Redmi 4A. It takes decent photos in good lighting conditions. The pictures are slightly less detailed than the Redmi 4 Prime, but pretty close. Colors are pretty saturated, which is surprising. Turning on HDR does make the photos look better, improving dynamic range quite a bit. I do recommend shooting in HDR mode all the time because it is very slightly slower than normal mode, and in low light the camera performance nosedives, which I was expecting that. The front facing camera takes okay selfies, but they are nowhere near some of the best selfie cameras you can find. The video camera takes up to 1080p video. The video looks okay, it's not spectacular, but it will do the job. The crop factor is pretty big though. So the Redmi 4X is a good budget phone. It's great for those who don't want to spend too much money on a Redmi 4 Prime and those who don't want to get the super budget Redmi 4A. To be honest, this review doesn't really have much new stuff. It's mostly a combination of the Redmi 4 Prime and the Redmi 4A review. For example, the build is the same as the Redmi 4 Prime, the screen is the same as the 4A, and the battery somewhere in between. That being said, I still highly recommend the Redmi 4A for those who are looking for the best phone in the $100 to $130 category. Let me know what you think below, and if you hit like, that would be super, and if you hit subscribe, that would be super awesome as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.